What up, y'all? All right, out here for a beautiful weekend walk. Love the weekend walks, man. They go a little longer. Everything slows down a little bit. If I get up at that same time, most people still in bed. It's a lot more quiet out here. Whew. Plus, I'm not thinking about people walking by and I'm doing these videos and I look, I look like a herb. All right, so look, off bat. There's gonna be some spoilers in here for Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse, the new Miles Morales flick. So spoilers ahead. If you do not want spoilers for the best Spider-Man movie that has ever been made, then save this to your watch later and come back to it. Also, again, still don't know where my headphones are. It's that whole ADHD thing where it's like, no matter how good we do, no matter how much we try, it just never seems to be enough to overcome this executive dysfunction. Don't matter how many degrees, don't matter how much money, it don't matter how much recognition, notoriety, how many successful programs or businesses and organizations you help to implement or develop or accelerate. That executive function is still real. And you know, it's real in a lot of movies. We see that trope played out. Think about Back to the Future, right? What was Doc's whole deal? He was all over the place, man. Neurodivergent. Think about Nutty Professor, both the one with Jerry Lewis and the one with legend, icon, Eddie Murphy. Neurodivergent, right? Could keep going down this list, but you think of any character in any show, especially sci-fi, who's like the smart person. They're usually real super quirky. It's neurodivergent, right? However, rarely do we see in those kinds of narratives that person is black. Spider-Man was my first superhero. My dad was my first superhero. But in terms of comics, Spider-Man was the first hero that I really, really connected with. Wolverine, also because he's essentially black. And Spider-Man is essentially black because they were misunderstood. Wolverine got portrayed as a loner. He's really not a loner. People just don't understand his life and his experience. His life is unique. He's an anomaly. Spider-Man, the man was always broke. He was trying to work. He could not balance this superhero thing and trying to work and make ends meet in his relationship. And like, some people loved him, but a lot of people hated him, and the media smeared his name all the time. He was black. He was an anomaly. So when Miles Morales came along, I was excited because I didn't have to suspend belief to see myself as this hero. Now let's say something here real quick. I actually didn't like Black Panther growing up. I got one little mini series of Black Panther comics called Black Panther's Prey. I think it was like a 4 or 5 issue series I read with my dad when he did some guest writing for Milestone Comics, which was a black subdivision of DC. And they just came back a few years ago. Great documentary about them on HBO, Showtime, I think it's HBO, or Max. What y'all doing with that app, man? Y'all get out of here. All right. So Spider-Man, Black Panther, right? I was not a Black Panther fan. It's just because he was unrelatable. The brother was like the 4th smartest person in the Marvel comic universe as far as the characters who are Earth-based. 4th smartest. Wildly intelligent. He's the richest character in all of comics across DC, Marvel, Image, Dark Horse, everything. Oh yeah, you know, as a comic head like that, Image and Dark Horse is where it's at these days, honestly. But I'm breathing, y'all. I've already been out here walking for like 2 or 3 miles. He was everything, right? 4th smartest person in the Earth-based comic universe. He was the richest person across all comics. He could fight. He was an inventor. He has like a PhD in physics and all this stuff. And he's damn royalty. How can a brother who descends from enslaved Africans in the country of stolen land identify with that? There's a lot of pride in it. I thought it was dope. I just couldn't connect. And even though I didn't grow up in an urban environment, Spider-Man felt a lot more relatable. I felt a lot more connected to him. So in this movie, you don't have to see all the Spider-Man movies to really understand what's going on here. But you do need to see the first Miles Morales movie, which probably was the previous best Spider-Man movie. Maybe a tie between that and No Way Home. I really like No Way Home. That was for the fans. That last scene. Whew, my man Pete. Yo, when he was in that apartment, oh man, the child in me just got up and yelled and started doing that Black Boy Joy all over that place, right? All right, so again, spoilers. So Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse picks off just where Enter the Spider-Verse left, but it's a few years advanced. Miles has gotten a little older. He's like 15, 16 now. Brother's starting to inherit some of those traits from his dad's side. He's getting the broad shoulders and all that, which I can understand because my pops is 6'4". All of his family are big, man. I'm not quite as big as him. I'm 5'11", but right around that age, when I was in 8th grade, I haven't gotten any taller since then. I was 185 pounds. I knew what that was like. It was like, oh man, this boy coming. Whew. All right. So what we find out is that incident in the first movie created this incident across the multiverse where canon events are being disrupted. And when a canon event is disrupted, it causes all these anomalies and it can collapse that whole world. We find that out in some other Marvel Cinematic Universe movies as well, right? Well, the difference in this one is that Miguel O'Hara, who was the 2099 Spider-Man, which I have the first issue of that. I remember when it came out, got the first few issues. I didn't really click with that one a whole lot, but I thought it was dope. Had some pictures I drew of it as a kid. Anyway, that dude is angry. He's real angry. He's kind of leading charge with like all of these different Spider-Men, right? Which kind of seems to be a build-up between the Council of Spider-Men versus the Council of Kangs, right? So one of the things about Spider-Man is that he's always trying to do the right thing. And it might not always seem like the right thing, but for him, the right thing is always about compassion and empathy and trying to save other people. That's what he learned through the death of his Uncle Ben. The Miles Morales story, he's learned that in a different way because he's black. He's an Afro Latino. He's a black Latino man, right? His mom's Dominican. So there's a difference we have in community. There's a difference we have in having this collective mind state. We have to approach certain situations differently. This is where a small percentage of this country, our history is different. People have a unconscious bias towards us. Racism. All right, when we talk about implicit biases and stuff like that, they're just forms of racism and bigotry, right? That's what we're talking about here. It's kind of the norm. I froze up because there was a car coming. It was just like looking at me talking. I felt like they were going a little slow. They might have thought I was recording them, so I was like, what this person doing? All right, anyway. So Miles Morales, man, he's doing his thing. And Miguel O'Hara, the 2099 Spider-Man, he's leading this whole charge. He's real angry, he's super serious. And you don't understand why they haven't invited Miles Morales to like this Council of Spider-Men, right? Spider people, because there's all different types of genders and all these things there. Some of them aren't even human. What you find out is that Miles Morales is an anomaly because the spider that bit him, that gave him all those collection of powers, didn't come from his universe. And so he wasn't supposed to exist. People tend to not understand black folks because we are the original anomaly. I'm not taking away the plight of all these different cultures, indigenous Native Americans, Jewish folks, of even Japanese folks when they came, Asian, Chinese, and Japanese folks when they came over to the U.S. Chinese folks when they were kind of colonized by Japan in a way. I'm not saying that accurately. I don't want to reflect my poor historical knowledge outside of the U.S. Well, walking and can't fact check, right? But there was a lot of hatred and bigotry that Japanese culture had towards Chinese culture. You can see that in Bruce Lee movies like Chinese Connection, where it'll say like, no dogs allowed, no Chinese allowed. They treated them like that, right? That is not unusual to the human experience, but the Black experience is something much different, because we weren't supposed to be in this country, and we weren't supposed to survive. We weren't supposed to thrive. We were the accelerant of capitalism, of what we know today. And so we view things differently. We have a different stake in the game. People don't understand this. From a very young age, as a Black boy, I realized if I could go back in time and I could end slavery, I could eradicate it before it started, I would. However, that means that I wouldn't exist. And that's horrible. And I've said this before in the video, but that's the reality you have as a Black child in this world. Complexity is secondhand. It's part of it. All right. So Miles Morales gets told he's the ultimate anomaly. And what you learn is that every Spider-Man has to go through all this pain and suffering. He already lost his uncle, but now they're telling him his dad's gonna die too. And he's like, nah, man, we supposed to be the good guys? Notice how the brother had to suffer more. We don't know the story of the Black Spider-Woman yet, which is pregnant and just going around being a badass, which I thought was a perfect touch. But we don't know. We don't know what that brother has to, or why he has to suffer like that. And Miguel O'Hara just says, because you're the original anomaly. He just hates him. His hate for him is unrational. It's irrational. Unrational. It's flowing, man. His hate for him is irrational. Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse is partly a story of Afro-pessimism. Afro-pessimism simply states, to reduce it to a very simple point, it's irrational for people to hate Black people the way we do. And the reason why pretty much every culture does is because in order for them to be great, in order for this racial hierarchy to be real and to be accurate, Black has to be the opposite of white. In order for white to exist, Black has to exist. Now, I'm not talking about people, okay? So don't come out here and try to play me like that. Race is both real and not real. Okay, it's not biological. But it is real because we made it real. And when we make something real, there's parameters, whether we're consciously or subconsciously thinking about that. So Miles Morales was like, okay, I understand that all of y'all have gone through this pain, and all y'all just gonna sit there and accept it, but I'm not accepting that, man. I'm not accepting that. Watch my uncle die. Not watch my dad die. It's the reason why I am who I am, right? My dad and my mom gave me some pride, gave me some confidence, let me know who I am. Our community is what gives us strength, not our individual responsibility as Spider people, as Black people, as people. Our communities are what give us strength. Come on, y'all, let's keep walking.